Really. Peace, 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 peace. What's good, everybody? Welcome to episode 18 of Spears and Mics. We have Zulu King L1. We got myself, Zulu King Just P. And we have here Watt Slice, our esteemed co-host, you know what I'm saying, co-founder, the good brother, the good Lord, you know what I mean? So we're going to
What
get
up?
into his history from the military, the Navy, you know what I'm saying, from your neighborhood days in Jamaica, Queens, how you got into Zulu, you know what I'm saying, I want to know about your endeavors in the music and just everything in between, you know what I'm saying? So salute the people, salute you all, and we're going to get started. Peace, peace. So,
Peace.
Peace.
Peace. What's going
Yeah,
you,
on?
man.
you want to start this
Yeah,
off?
so yeah, so I just want to say shout out and peace and love to the listeners, the supporters, if
Definitely.
you checked out episode 17, we had the good brother Zulu King Just P. We had his
Mm-hmm.
episode where
More.
we kind of highlighted his music career. We're gonna probably go back to him in a few episodes and go a little bit more personal about his story and his travels, about his personal life. But episode 17 explains some of his music career. And we want to just give y'all an opportunity, the listeners, to get a little bit of a background on the co-host of Spears and Mics. So now for episode 18, we got, our good brother Watt Slice on here, and we're gonna talk about his history in Zulu, his history, in the streets, his just his transformation as a young man to a, strong grown man, father, husband, all of the different stages of the good brother's life, man. So we're
More.
grateful for your time, grateful for your energy.
No
You know
doubt.
what I'm saying? So what I want to let the listeners know, because we know you fairly well, because we be BSing and we've been building since many years, is how you are from St Albans, Queens, right? You grew up there your whole life. You born and
Correct.
raised in
Born
Queens.
and raised in Queens, St. Albans, right off of Farmers Boulevard. They call it the
Hmm.
North Side, Keysville Avenue. You know, word, 40 years,
That's crazy.
42 years. Yeah. But
Now
I mean, I
there's
don't live
some
in New York anymore, but, born
right.
and raised when I got out the military, I went right back.
Right. And for the listeners that are not familiar with Queens, St. Albans, that area in New York, there's some legendary talent from around that way, right?
Absolutely. LL Cool J. Right down the street, you got Run DMC, Ja Rule. Um, who else? It's a lot, man.
Tribe, is Tribe from
Well,
around?
Tribe is from Linden.
Hmm.
Actually, my uncle's close friend, and he actually is my cousin's godfather. Is Q-Tip's cousin. You know what I'm saying? Word. So yeah, we got Tribe. Who else?
What's the,
It's a bunch of Mikey D.
where he good people
Mikey
say,
D from Main Source. Um,
what's,
Intro, the singing group Intro. One of the members, Jeff Sanders. He's from my neighborhood. He's close to my family. Um, who else?
what's
Yo,
the wall?
it's mad
Who's on
people.
the
My
wall?
man Bruce Spitz, he a legend. Who?
Hmm.
Who's on the wall on all the way down Linden, right? That it's like a mural.
Addisley Park. That's where that was a time like where jazz. It was like
Mm-hmm.
a jazz. Who else? I think Etta James, James Brown, Shaka Khan lived over there for a point. I believe. Jackie Robinson
Yeah, I
lived
think
over
he
there.
told
Mm.
It's a dope mural right under the trestle on Linden and
me.
Newburgh. And
Mm-hmm.
Addisley Park is like was a section where all the rich black folks in Queens were buying homes, and
Mm.
having their own community over there. It's very legendary over there, Addisley Park. And that's like right around the corner from where I grew up, directly around the corner. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? So the mural is dope. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, P. A lot of people don't know about Addersley Park. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Word.
So coming up in this legendary community where so many legends are from, I guess I gotta have a little bit of influence on you as a youth, right?
Um, kinda, sorta, cause like my family, like my mother's from Brooklyn originally. Like my
Mm-hmm.
grandparents met. They're from North and South Carolina, respectfully, and they met in Brooklyn, and they had their first three children in Brooklyn, and then they moved to Queens and had three more children in Queens. So like my family moved over there, and I just had a conversation with my mother about it. 1968, the year Dr. King was assassinated. My mother they moved to Farmers, right? But they lived on 112th Avenue, which is adjacent to Keysville. Like on one side of Farmers Boulevard, you have the numbers. So it'd be like they moved to 112th Avenue, and across the street, it will be names, and the names start in alphabetical order. So, like across the street from 112th Avenue is Keysville Avenue. You know what I'm saying? And then
Mm-hmm.
it'll go, LM, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like the corresponding letters in the alphabet. You know what I'm
I never
saying?
knew that, yo.
Yeah, yeah, it's
What,
crazy. It's crazy. Yeah.
Ukraine, it's
Cause
like Mexico. What's them block? And
right,
that's just
right,
in
yeah, Mexico.
Mexico.
Right,
Going
right, right.
to,
Lewiston,
yeah, Lewis,
Mexico,
and then on
Newburgh,
the other side be the
Newburgh.
nut.
Right, right.
What is that?
Yeah.
Murdoch? Is it It's
Murdoch. Yup, yup,
Murdoch.
yup. Murdoch. Yup,
Yeah,
yup, yup.
you know. And it's crazy
Yeah.
is
A
the
lot
rock.
of people don't even recognize that. Right. A lot
Wow.
of people don't even know that. It starts actually Aberdeen. Is it
Yeah.
Aberdeen? Yeah, Aberdeen, and then Babylon, and
Yeah.
then it goes. You know what I'm saying? Then it goes to my block, Keysville. Yeah,
And
and
then
then
rock,
like the
the red,
numbers,
black, and green rock splits them in
right? The
half.
red,
So
black, and green rock. Right, 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 right.
that's crazy.
Yeah. But to answer your question, like, like how I grew up. My mother used to sing. My aunts dance. Like in my family on that side, like my mother's side, it's all educators and the arts. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like my mother, educator. She just retired from the New York City Board of Ed. 38 years, I think. I think it was 38 years, right? Um, she's retired. Wise's mother, that's my oldest aunt. That's my mother's oldest sister. She's an assistant principal, but she danced also. So that's where Wise got the
Mm-hmm.
dancing from.
Mm-hmm.
Then
Mm-hmm.
I have an uncle that retired MTA. That's he retired MTA driving the trains. Then I have my other aunt. She works for the Department of Health. Then I have my twin aunts who are the youngest. They're like 10 years older than me and Wise. They're both educators, but one is a dancer. She has her own dance company. So I've been
Mm-hmm.
around that stuff my whole life growing up. They actually, my youngest three aunts put me on the hip hop, taught me how to dress. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like influence, like I grew up, like my family grew up in the numbers racket. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I ever told y'all that, but like the numbers racket, like the Italian, like before the lottery, there was the numbers racket
Mm-hmm.
with the
Mm-hmm.
mob.
Right.
So
Right.
like the
The
dude that
lottery stole that
right,
idea
right,
from the mob.
exactly.
Right.
So there was a man by the name of John Pop Freeman. He actually knows Bumpy Johnson. Think he was from down south. Then he moved to Harlem, and he was in Harlem with Bumpy Johnson around that whole time with the numbers. And then he witnessed, I think, like a mob hit or something, and he did a bid without snitching. So when he got out, the mob told him like, "Yo, go run Southeast Queens, which is
Mm-hmm.
my area, right?" So my grandfather used to work for him. I got pictures of
Mm-hmm.
me in the superette, in the number hole they used to call it, but it was called the superette. It's something else now on Farmers, right across the street from the red, black, and green rock. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I got pictures of me and the baby. I remember my grandmother taking me there. We used to go in the back. They slide the little slot open, like how you see in the movies, like back in the days. If you ever
Mm-hmm.
saw Dead President, where he used to run numbers
Mm-hmm.
and they slide
Mm-hmm.
the slot. I used to be in
Mm-hmm.
there, and then like I'll go in the back, and it'd be like they'll be selling candy as a front, like You know,
Right,
there be
right.
barely any candy in the case. There be barely any
Mm-hmm.
juices, whatever. It was just the
Mm-hmm.
front. You know what I'm saying? And
Right,
like
right, right.
everybody in my family worked in there besides my youngest two aunts because they were babies. You know what I'm saying, in the 70s. So like my mother worked in there. Two of my aunts worked in there, and my uncle worked in there, and they both ran numbers. My grandfather, he's still out in the street. He still runs numbers to this day. Like
Yeah, yeah. It's still out there, right?
he's still outside. My grandfather is almost 90 years old, and he's still outside. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like official.
I
He's like
just
the
want to
mayor of
tell the
farmers.
listeners, not to cut your wisdom.
Mhm.
So for in New York City, before the New York's lottery, people used to go around black and brown and Italian neighborhoods, basically Puerto Rican neighborhoods, West Indian neighborhoods, African American neighborhoods, Italian neighborhoods would have a guy that would go around with a little book and say, yo, what numbers you want? You might pay 50 cent, you might play a dollar, whatever it is. And then they would have a drawing at the end of the day. And, they would announce it and then people would come in and collect their winnings. And this is
Wow.
a way for people to come up. I think in Malcolm X, wasn't they doing that, running numbers
It
in the
was when
movie?
he got to Harlem. Yep, yep.
Right.
When he was
So
still
that was
Detroit
big in New
Red.
York
Yep.
City. And actually it still goes on to this day because people, rather than go play a dollar um or two in New York lottery, go to the bodega and play versus thousands of people,
Hmm.
you might just be playing against your projects or, your little immediate area and better chances for you to win,
Well, and it's
if
big
you're
money
playing.
too.
Right. Yeah.
They be,
And this is how people got by sometimes, put food on the table by hitting
word,
the number.
I got a
So
word.
question
it's a
for you.
big thing in New York.
I
What
got a
up?
question. I got a question for you off something you mentioned. So you said that part of Queens, southeast Queens, right?
Hmm.
Now that's what it is technically on the map. And this is
Technically, right. Hmm.
right. This is something that all people from that part of like Jamaica and the greater Jamaica area, it's like a debate. Why do they call it the north side if it's
Because
southeast Queens?
because it's north to south side.
There
That's
we go.
why.
Okay.
Because it's
Okay.
north to south side.
Some people,
I don't say north side. Like maybe in the recent years, we be
right.
like north side or whatever. But I never really like jack that. You know what I'm saying? I never really was like, yo, from the north side. Like, yo, I'm from Farmers. I'm from Keysville. Like they be like, yo, where that's at? Like it's even crazy because like in school growing up, like I went to IS 238 on Hillside. That's like Jamaica Estates. So we had a whole bunch of hoods there. Like you had Woodhall, you had Hollis, you had Pov City, which is Liberty, Bricktown as they call it. They call it Pov City, Bricktown, whatever. Then you got Southside dudes that go there. So like in Bricktown and Woodhall will be beefing, and I'm on the other side. I'm like right down the street from all of it. So they're like, "Yo, where you from?" I'm like, "Yo, I'm from Farmers." They like, "Nah, that's that's Woodhall," and I'm like, "Nah, it's not." You know what I'm saying? I was like, "That Woodhall is Hollis. I'm from St Albans," and they would try to get me to be involved in it. I'm like, "Nah, man, that's y'all issue." You know what I'm saying? But that's why they call it North Side because it's north from South Side. You know what I'm
Right, right,
saying?
right. It started to me in Tribe or Consequence where he said the North Side. He said something where he named it North Side, and
Hmm.
from there on, I just been hearing people from that area just
Right.
call it the North Side. You know what I'm saying? I figure it's
Right.
from like Linden, like the South Side, and if you go further up, like any
Hmm.
certain South Side blocks, if you go further up, that would be like towards
North, right. Because
St.
North
Yeah,
Queens is Flushing, you know what I'm
right,
Right,
saying?
right,
Jackson
right,
Heights, closer to Manhattan.
right,
That's
right,
North
right.
Queens, you know what I'm saying?
right.
But
Yeah,
this is North Side, the north side of the
yeah,
South
yeah.
Side.
I've seen people on Rikers Island argue that down, son. Like take the
But
map and
see,
click
like,
the
yo,
alleys and arguing down. You know what I'm
like
saying?
we're
I'm a transplant.
geographically
I've
messed
heard
up.
people call it the North Side, and they
Yeah,
automatically
yeah.
know what I'm talking about. So
Yeah,
to
but
me, it's
we're
the North
geographically messed up. Yeah, I mean,
Side. I've seen people
whatever.
go crazy
I don't
for it.
call it North Side, but
Yeah,
it is
people
what it
do.
is.
People
It's
definitely do.
whatever.
Yeah, people
You know.
definitely call that the
Yeah,
North
yeah,
Side.
yeah. Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
It's like a
They got
movement now.
money.
I see their
Yeah,
pages
no,
on
it is.
IG.
Hmm.
It's like a thing. As much as
Yeah,
South
no,
Side
it is. It
is
is.
the North Side. You know what I'm
If
saying?
you ever look at my hashtag, when I hashtag Queens, I don't never put North Side.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it is what
Well,
it is.
that's
It's
much
cool, I
respect
guess,
to
to
you. Like, you know
differentiate, to set yourself aside or
um,
whatever.
a lot of a lot of people that know you, like that probably don't know you well, don't know you were a singer at one time.
Oh
Like, can
yeah.
you let the listeners know, like, when you started singing, what influenced that, and some of the places that kind of took you and gave you quite a bit of experiences
um,
singing, right?
well, like I said, my mother used to sing, right? Like we grew up in church, so I went to the same church as my mother and my family. So they were always they would put me and Wise in the choir. You know, my mother sang. One of my twin aunts that dances, she sings too. So like when they were in high school, they were in this group, my other aunt, and I used to help them. They used to be like, "Here, sing this note," because my voice was high pitched. Because you a kid, so you're not
Mm-hmm.
going through puberty or whatever. So they used to be in I used to be in their room, and they'd be like, "Yo, sing this part," to get them like we'd be harmonizing in their room or whatever. So I used to go to PAL in the summer police athletic league right down the street from where I lived. Um, and at the end of the year, like you got to do this performance. So I didn't tell my mother. I might have been like 8 or 9. I think I was 8, right? Yeah, I think I was 8. And like I had a solo. Like the lady heard me sing. She was like, "Yo, you got a nice voice, whatever." I'm like, "Oh," she's like, "You want to sing this solo?" So my mom came to the performance, and she was like shocked to see, like, to hear my voice and see me like in front of a whole audience, you know what I'm saying, in the gymnasium, like singing. So, um, this woman that was like her coworker and like a mentor of hers in the board of education had invited her to a concert at her church when I was like when I was coming closing in on becoming 9, and the New York Boys Choir was performing. All boys choir. Their headquarters was in Manhattan on East 88th Street between First and Second Avenue in this Catholic church, right? And I remember falling asleep during the performance, and my mother was like nudging me, like, "Yo, these boys could really sing." And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, 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 I hear you." You know what I'm saying? I'm falling asleep, I'm tired. I ain't really want to go, but my mother used to like, like, "Yo, you going?" You know what I'm saying? So she was like, "They could really sing, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She was like, "You want to join?" I'm like, "Nah." She was like, "Too bad, you joining anyway." So I'm like, "Oh
Mm-hmm.
man." So after they
Mm-hmm.
performed, she went up to the director, and and he was like, "Yo, here's my information. We'll audition them." You know what I'm saying? So I remember like Saturday, I had to get up in the morning, audition. I had to go in there. It's just me and him. He got a keyboard. He got a Casio keyboard in there. Um, and he asked me to sing a song. And I remember I sang Can We Talk by Tevin Campbell, right? And he was like, because that was a song back then, you know what I mean? So he was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yo," he was like, "Oh, you sound good." He was like, "Now let me hear something." Like, so he's playing notes on the thing, on the Casio. Then he goes to the piano. He was like, "Hit this note." So I'm hitting the notes. Every note he hit, I'm singing it. So he was like, "Yo, did you ever know you had perfect pitch?" I'm like, "Nah, I don't even know what that is." You know what I'm saying? So he was like, "Nah, you got perfect pitch." He was like, "Yo, you're in." You know what I'm saying? And from then, like I started rehearsing with the choir. I was in the New York Boys Choir, not the Harlem Boys Choir. The New York Boys Choir
Mm-hmm.
is totally separate, different thing. Um, and he told me he was putting me in the concert choir, like off rip. That was like you get to go to the like good performances. And me, I'm just thinking we're gonna be singing in churches, whatever, here and there on the street, like performing, whatever. But he can't. I was 9, and he was like, "Yo, Muhammad Ali is having his 50th birthday celebration. It's going to be on television, and the choir is singing with Diana Ross, and you're going." And I'm like, "Word?"
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "Word? That's crazy." You know what I'm saying?
Legendary.
So yeah, so and for anybody that is doubting this story, it's on YouTube. The song is called Force Behind the Power, Diana Ross. Like you can see me, she's actually blocking me. But and I got a funny story about her too. But yeah, like we flew to California, we flew to LA, we stayed in the Bonaventure Hotel where that show 9 to 5 was filmed with Dolly Parton and I think what's that, Delta Burke, I think her name was. It was like a bunch of it was in a hotel, it was in that hotel and they were like hotel patron hotel, they worked in the whole, they was maids, like hotel maids. We stayed in there. I met so many people. I actually boxed with Muhammad Ali. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm,
during one of the rehearsals, like we were in the actual venue where we were going to be performing, and we had to do a couple of sound checks. And I remember like standing off to the side, like in the audience where the audience was going to be, and he walked through. And like this is before the Parkinson's got real bad. He was 50, so like he could still like talk and he was shake, but he could
Yeah.
still like talk and you could still understand, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't that bad yet. But he walked by, he shook everybody's hand, and for some reason he got to me and he went to shake my hand and I put my hand out and he threw his hands up. And I'm like, oh snap. So I throw my hands up. So we like trading jabs, like, and people are filming it, and it ended up being on Entertainment Tonight. I think my mom still got the footage. It's on VHS, but footage is so old, it probably can't even transfer it.
mhm.
But like that was crazy. That was a
Yeah, yeah.
crazy joint. But I sang from in that choir from like the age of 9 till I became Zulu. And I think like the year after I joined Zulu, I left because, I was being a knucklehead by that time and I felt I kind of outgrew being in the choir. But I benefited tremendously from being in that, man. I done performed everywhere. And this is I've been around celebrities from the age of 9 till I got out when there was no social media. The mystique of celebrities were only like it was still something. Like, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? You didn't really know people was on drugs like that. You didn't like, you know what I'm saying? You didn't see all this weirdo stuff going on, like arguing with so-called regular people going back and forth. Like, I done sang with Whitney Houston. Her mother just passed away. I done recorded with her. You know what I'm saying? I sang with Coolio like 3, 4 times. Um, who else? Michael Bolton, Al Green, Ray Charles, Hootie and the Blowfish. I performed at the Billboard Awards the same year Biggie died, and the same year Biggie was killed. I met Biggie that year at the Billboard Awards.
That's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, yeah. Well, Dustin Hoffman, bunch of boxers, especially for the Muhammad Ali thing. Like Ken Norton was there, Joe Frazier was there,
Mm,
um, Howard Cosell was there. Yo, I met Malcolm X's daughters. Because
mm,
Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X were real good friends at a
mhm.
time. One of his daughters was a rapper, and she actually performed at the event, and I got to meet her. Um, I've sang at the Apollo numerous times, not amateur night, like just a regular, you know what I mean? When Kiki Shepard was one of the hosts, I was on the I sang for Richard Bey. It's crazy. Like they had the Jerry Lewis telethon, and I think
Wow,
that's the first time I was on TV. It was the Jerry Lewis telethon with Richard Bey and Kiki Shepard, and I was like 9 right before we went to Cali, and I performed at one of the last Arsenio Hall shows too with Coolio.
that's
That whole
crazy.
Gangsta's Paradise run. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like whenever he came to New York, we performed with him. You know what I'm saying?
That's
So,
crazy.
so yeah, yeah, man. It was a wild like, and the thing about that, like, the director, Dr. Reverend Anton Gregory McCann, shout out to him, man. I remember like when we used to be like performing at like say like I did Gracie Mansion like 3 times, right? One when David Dinkins was mayor, twice when Giuliani was mayor, right? We performed there, right? Um, he always said to us, like, yo, don't ask nobody for autographs. And I never understood why. And then he told us, like, yo, y'all are stars too. And I was like, yo, that's crazy. And then like we would go down south, like to do a what did they call a tour, right? And we would tour the South, right? In the summertime, we were all out of school because it ranged from like the age of 8 all the way up to high school. You know what I'm saying? Like the choir, right? That was the ages, right? So, because like your voice will change, so you'll move to a different section. Like you start off soprano, then you'll be an alto, then you'll be a tenor, then you'll be a bass. You know what I'm saying? So I've been through all those phases, right? Um, so we'll go down south and we'll be performing in churches or boys clubs, and kids our age will be coming up to us asking us for autographs. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And especially if you sing in a solo, like I had a few solos I sang, like where I led the choir myself, and people would be coming up to me, girls and all of that. And it just was a wild experience. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that was pretty much my singing career from like 9 to 15. You
That's
know what I'm
crazy.
saying? And what's wild about it is a couple of people like really made something out of themselves from that choir. My man Lil Eddie Serrano. I don't know if y'all familiar, if anybody's familiar with him. He was one of the backstage coaches for America's Got Talent. He done got Grammy nominations. He wrote for The Dream. He like look him up, Eddie Serrano, Puerto Rican dude. Yo, he's incredible. My man Rand Christian, he from Harlem. He do his thing. My man Mike Bell, he just passed away like 2 years ago. If anybody's familiar with battle rap and Head Ice, that was Head Ice's closest friend. He was very talented. He done a lot of stuff. One of our producers, Alvin Fields, who I'm still cool with to this day. Dude is like 70 years old. He looked like he's about 40 years younger. He was on, he did background vocals for Kanye. He had a famous song called Let's All Chant back in the 70s. It was a hit. He grew up with Whitney Houston. He was the plug that we got to sing with Whitney Houston. Like we performed with her twice,
Mm-hmm.
like because of her, because he grew up with her. Like we was calling her Nippy. Like that's her name that they gave her
Mm-hmm.
when she was a kid. Like we knew her as that. You know what I'm saying? So all that stuff that was coming out about her, like we already knew because we was like minus the like the drug addiction and stuff. We didn't see it because we were kids, but she was like a real sweet person, and we would just call her Nippy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And she would be like, "Yo, y'all my babies," and like we remember when she first got with Bobby Brown and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Because we was around for that. You know, we saw the. I got to see the formation of Blackstreet. You know, I went to Virginia where Teddy Riley had bought the crib, had the studio. We was in his studio, like a group of us. We were supposed to do some work with him when they first formed Blackstreet, but it kind of fell through. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, it was wild. I got like a lot of footage that I'm gonna try to get my mom to find. Like I said, it's on VHS, and we ain't never like transfer it to DVD to like you know what I'm saying.
You
So
should though. You should. You
yeah,
should
yeah,
transfer it,
I'm gonna try.
especially
Let
for
me
your
see if
children.
yeah.
For your children to
Some of that
see
stuff is on
some.
YouTube though. Some cause like
Yeah.
it's funny because my wife didn't believe me, right? She was like, "Yo, you," and then I showed her, and then she still was like, "You can't sing because you was in a choir." So everybody, but I'm like, "Nah, I was like really in the front though. Like I was front
Mm-hmm.
line with it. Like, and I had my own solo songs that I used to sing. I don't think I could sing no more. I mean, I'll be humming here and there, but I don't really be on it like that. But yeah,
You
What?
answered my questions almost. So I
huh?
was, you guys kind of brought up where I was going to go. So L1 mentioned your children, and you mentioned your wife. And I was going to ask, like, do they know? Do they ask you to sing for them? You know what I mean? You're like, do they
Nah,
ask you to sing? You know what I
nah.
mean?
Well,
Like,
my
when you did?
sons are still like they real young. They don't care nothing about that. My daughter, my daughters, they just be like, you did this, you did that. They don't never
For real?
ask me to. Nah,
Your
they don't
wife
never
ever
ask
asked
me.
you to sing? No?
Nah, I
Yeah?
don't. She think it's a joke. She think it's a joke. She
That's
still don't
crazy.
believe it after I done showed her all this footage and all of that. But it's cool though, cause that was a chapter in my life that like I really enjoyed it for the time that it lasted, and it was crazy because I remember my last day when I left the choir. We were performing for Rosie O'Donnell. We was with Coolio, and we was gonna perform on the Rosie O'Donnell show, right? And we was in the green room, and little Eddie Serrano, he was like he's a few years younger than me, so I was like a senior choir member at the time, and I was making fun of him because, like, if you go in, I think it was in the NBC building. I think that's where her show was taped. And if you look, they'll have like people's pictures on the walls that's been on the show or in the building or whatever, right? They have and with autographs. And there was somebody on the wall, and I was like, "Yo, you look like him." And we kids, like I'm young, I'm a teenager, like a young teenager, and he's like a preteen. You know what I'm saying? So I'm making fun of him. So he got upset. He told on me, and one of the directors was like, "Yo, take your shirt off. You're not performing." So I'm like, "All right, whatever." And by that time, I'm already Zulu. It's gang. I ain't really care. So I'm like, "All right, whatever." So I'm like, "I'm going home." You know what I'm saying? I ain't tell nobody. I just walked out. So like, I found out later that they actually came back and was like, "Yo," to come get me, like, "Yo, put your shirt back on and go out
Mhm,
there." And I was nowhere to be found. And then like
mhm,
they told my mom, and they was like, "Yo, he's come back." And I just was like, "Nah, I don't," I was kind of done with it at the time.
mhm,
But before we move on to the next joint, I just wanted to say, like, when I used to my mom used to come up to parent and teacher school night, right? She always used to mention that I was in the choir and I sang, right? So if something was coming up, the school would announce it on the loudspeaker and be like, "One of our very own," and say my name, and they'd be like, "He's performing," and then they'll like, because nothing was live, everything was tape pre-recorded, right? So like, say I did the Billboard Awards, yo, come back the next day, "Yo, I saw you on TV last night, son. Like, yo, it was crazy. Yo, you really met this person? You really met that person? I was this person." So I was
mhm,
like a little celebrity in my neighborhood and in the school, every school from like elementary school all through up to high school. I was like kind of like a celebrity because it's like nobody that young was really doing stuff like that, you know, at the like around us, you know what I'm saying? At that time, people like blossomed later into certain things, but like I was really around people like at a young age, you know what I'm saying?
mhm.
So yeah, it was dope though. It was dope.
Yeah, it's a lot of dope stories. You were
Yeah,
around a
yeah,
lot of legendary figures,
yeah.
Um, man, it makes me like say like you lived in a really exciting life in your youth. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Now
yeah.
that was probably like very exciting for a young boy to be around all this talent. You know what I mean?
Word, word.
That's crazy. But definitely try your best to preserve that. You know what I'm
Yeah, I'm
saying?
gonna talk to my
Because
mother about it and see if she could
yeah.
find that VHS because they used to just record like, "Yo, Kyle won't be on TV," and they'll just like record get a blank VHS tape and just record. It had everything, even like if it wasn't like televised, like whatever I did, they would record it. And she got like pictures of me with a whole bunch of people. Crazy,
Yeah.
real crazy.
So you said you were singing and then it kind of you started to get a little bit older and then you said came Zulu.
Right. But
So
I was still singing in church though. Like
right,
I was
right,
still
right.
singing in church and like so I kept singing all the way up to even when I got out of the military, but go ahead.
Were. I didn't
Yeah,
even realize that you were
yeah,
singing for
yeah,
such a long period. I thought it
yeah.
was more such a youth thing that you were doing
Nah,
when you were
nah.
younger.
And that in the New York Boys Choir, I stopped when I was like 15. And then,
Hmm
3 years later, I went into the military, but I was still like going to church, and they had me in the youth choir and the adult choir. I was the only youth in the adult choir. Like they was like really like, and it kind of like pushed me away from singing, man, because they was like depending on me. Like, yo, here, we gonna learn this song, and you gonna sing the solo. I'm just like, yo, man, like, come on, bro, like, give me a break, man. Like, you know what I'm
Right,
saying? Get
right,
somebody
right,
else to sing it, man. Like, they don't care if you tone deaf or not. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter, man. You know.
Tell us about
So
you want to go? All right.
now go ahead, P.
Tell us about the origin, the science, and the birth of the name Watt, and then Watt Slice.
Do the knowledge.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Above the Rim. Um, the movie came out in 1990.
One.
Yeah, I think so. I think 91, 92, something like that, right? And
Peace
the
to Rosie Perez.
word and,
Wait,
and
wait, above the rim. I'm thinking white man can't
oh, White Man
jump.
Can Jump, right,
I'm a
right,
mess.
right, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
a
yeah.
mess.
All right, so hold
Wait,
on.
what she had
Nah,
to do with
Like,
that?
wait.
right. No, Above the Rim came out, and the Dwayne Martin's character was Kyle Lee Watson, right? So
Mm,
in my hood, everybody played basketball. You just growing up, like no, like a lot of some people took it serious, and some people like we always just say in my hood, like, yo, he's a ball player. You just play ball. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't a ball player. I played ball. You know what I'm saying? I didn't like have aspiration. I played baseball very well, but I didn't have aspirations of going to the NBA or being in tournaments, even though I played in a few tournaments. So like, yo, like dudes named me like, yo, your name Kylie Watson, because my real name is Kyle. So they're like, yo, your name, we gonna call you Kylie Watson. And then they shortened it to Kylie Watt. And then they just dropped the Kylie after a while, and people just was calling me Watt. You know what I'm saying? And like that's been my name since that movie came out. You know what I mean? I think I might have been like 10, 10, whatever year that movie came out. I forgot. It might have been 94 when that movie came out.
right.
Um, so I probably was like 12. But yeah, I've been Watt since then. And it's crazy because I had people in the military calling me Watt. And they used to think that was my real name, even though you got the name tag on your uniform, on your work uniform. They used to just call me Watt. I had officers calling me Watt. You know what I'm saying? I
Mm,
had military officers calling me Watt. Crazy. But the slice came years later, from, unfortunately actually having a slice. You know what I'm saying? Like, unfortunately, somebody said it in a rhyme. My man, I did a song with him, and the opening, his opening bars was, "Yo, Watt Slice fam." You know what I'm saying?
hmm
And that's how it like, that's just how it came. Like, you know, people could use their common sense to what slice means. I'm not gonna get into it, but
I
that
know.
that's what it means. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It ain't a slice of pizza.
Nah, sure ain't. Sure ain't. But you know
It's a pizza
that
and be quiet. You know what I mean?
yeah that that's
So,
that's what that's about.
Watt Slice joins the Universal Zulu Nation.
Right.
How'd this come about? I know you spoke about it maybe on episode one
I
when
did.
we did our little introduction or whatever, but
Right.
maybe somebody didn't check that out. So let's
Uh,
let's
well,
revisit that.
okay. 1996. I was in high
Wait,
school.
before that,
Okay.
what even influenced you, or even like beyond it coming to you or you going to Zulu?
Mm.
Like what? what kind of put that on your radar? Like, what made you gravitate towards that?
Well, growing up, hip hop. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like I said, my three youngest aunts, they put me on to everything, taught me how to dress. Like my aunt, um, the one that's a little older than my twin aunts, she had bought turntables. So like we had records in the house and, watching Video Music Box and, Tribe. I wasn't like Soul Sonic Force and all of that was before us, but was before me rather. But we did have Sugar Hill Gang. I remember the record in the house. I remember Soul Sonic Force in the house. I remember these records in the house and being spun. But I gravitated to Tribe, Diggable Planets, even Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. We had that. NWA, all of that stuff was being like, because my aunt was trying to learn how to DJ. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So like I'm looking at all that stuff and then Video Music Box. So then in '96, when I'm starting high school, um, my cousin Wise, like I told you, he was Latin King for a week. And then he was Latin King for a week. And then after the weekend go right, um, he bumped into these dudes that was Zulu, they was natives. They was Brooklyn natives. And he was telling me about it. And I'm just like, word, that sounds dope. I was like, yo, I'm familiar. He was like, yo, remember, everybody be like, name is Fife Dog from the Zulu Nation. I'm
Hmm.
like, yo, that Zulu Nation? He's like, yeah. I'm like, yo, that's dope. I'm like, yo, I want in. You know what I'm saying? Like straight like that. So and then, like we was delinquents, we was truants, you know what I'm saying? So, meet up. They're like, all right, so, here's how you get on, whatever. And that's just how it happened, just like that. Like, dude was like, yo, you seem official, so you in. And then, like I said in episode one, dudes flip crip. And I had already knew Zulu King Red from junior high school and, his cousin and his brother going to my high school at the time, and I found out they were Zulu. So, like, we clicked up. And then I left them alone once them dudes flipped crip. We was chapter 18 and the rest is history. You know what I'm saying? Straight like
Right,
that. It ain't even nothing too much detailed like that. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly how it went. You know what I mean?
right. And I, oh, go ahead, P. Go ahead.
What was it like when you joined the nation? Did you go to Universals? How long was
Um,
it? Can you
well,
recall your first
well,
university meeting?
um, well, me personally, I wasn't going to unis at the time. I would like try to go to chapter meetings. They used to be held in Goose Pond Park by Jamaica High School. You know what I'm saying? We used to hold meetings in there. Um, And the only reason at first I wasn't going to Universal because, like I said, I was still performing. I was still singing. So after school, I would have to get on the train and go to Manhattan. You know what I'm saying? To catch rehearsal. You know what I'm saying? Then I'm coming home at night, so I ain't have time. And then my mom's like yo, you ain't go to rehearsal because if you don't come, if you don't show up, they gonna say something. Like, yo, you missed rehearsal. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to be there. We know your mom's sending you there. You know what I'm saying? You're not showing up. So I had to be there. I don't think I went to my first Universal until like, it might have been 98, 99. And I think that when they was in Bronx River, I think the Universal was in Bronx River at the time, if I'm not mistaken. I think I went to one. My first anniversary I went to was in 99. And then, after that the infamous MOB war, I went to the military. You know what I'm saying? So that's how that went as far as, yeah, going to Universals. I
Right.
remember when they used to say, I
Mhm,
remember when they used to, yo, if you don't go to Universal, you get violated, like all of that.
mhm.
I remember that. I remember hearing it. I ain't never really paid too much attention. You know what I'm saying? Because our
Right.
chapter leader, he wouldn't really be around like that. Only in certain instances. Like if we have like a major problem, like he'll be around, or for a meeting, he might be around, you know. But that was it. We
Right.
we were kind of like just running wild at the time. But some people like Wise was going. A couple of the other brothers in the chapter was going. They would go together and they would go to Shaka training on the weekends. But see, like I said, not only was I singing, I was in martial arts and I played baseball. You know what I'm saying? I think like around that time I had stopped playing baseball because in high school, the coach ripped up my physical. So that kind of like killed my baseball dream. You know what I'm saying? So, but I was still in martial arts and I was still singing. So I had like my mom always tried to keep me busy. You know what I'm saying? And like my window to operate was very small. You know what I'm saying?
Right. What I was gonna say to you is, when you say you didn't go to Universals because you're busy as a young adult, you got singing, you got
Mhm.
martial arts, you got baseball, you got all these things. We were young, so like, many of us were still in high school. Again, we're in Queens, we're in Brooklyn, we're in Long Island.
Right.
So like we're not in the Bronx where like dudes is walking 2, 3 blocks down the Bronx
Mm-hmm.
River Community Center to go to a Universal. And then after it left Bronx River, it went to Hunts Point. That's where they were doing the Universals at. And then I think they went to a church in Harlem and eventually
Mm-hmm.
the National
Right.
Black Theater.
Right.
But there's this people think that when you're down with the Zulu Nation, they think that you down with Bambaataa, you down with like the Bronx, that we're all together like under one building at all
Right.
times. This is a huge organization
Right.
and there's a
International.
body, right, an international organization, and there's a huge body of it that don't even function with other parts of it just because they don't know each other,
Right.
or they really not even interested in what's going on in the Bronx
Right.
because like you in your own world in Queens. You know what I mean? So a lot of times people think like, oh, yeah, they was all together in Bronx River. Like to a degree, yes, we might be together at certain times. It might be in the Bronx, it might be in Harlem, but we got our own functions in our own neighborhoods. You know what I
Right.
mean? And the
Yo.
brother we're young, we're busy,
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to graduate school. Like that's the priority.
Yo,
You know what I mean?
I didn't even meet Bam till '99. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Right,
already three
right,
years in. I ain't meet him till '99, and when I
right.
met him,
Same here.
it wasn't even it was brief. You know what I'm saying? It was real brief, and I was just amazed at like the turnout of the anniversary and like all the
Hmm.
different chapters being there. You know what I'm saying? And I always tell people I'll never forget that anniversary because the aliens were selling the glow in the dark medallion. You know what I'm saying?
I
The glow
saw
in the
them.
dark
I saw
wisdom
them for
face.
sale there.
Yeah, them joints was fire. You know what I'm saying? And I really
Yeah.
wanted one, but somebody told me I can't get it because I wasn't alien. That's what they
And they
told
had
me.
I don't know if you remember these. They had the African flag joint with the alien instead of the
Yup,
lion or
yup,
instead of the
yup.
fist. You know what I'm saying? The
Joint
aliens
was
was they
fire.
had
And
yeah,
I think TC Islam was the host at
right.
that time. I think in
I was
'99, I
at the
believe he was the
anniversary in
host.
'99.
Yeah, he
I
was the
mean,
host.
I know there's multiple days, but I think it
hmm
was in Brooklyn and
hmm
Flatbush. That's where I met
I went
Razor,
to
matter
that
of
one.
fact, that same year.
I went to that
You know what I'm saying?
me Red Wise and the introduction of Cornbread, and he wasn't even Zulu at the time, and that's what made
Mm,
him want to be Zulu. That anniversary right there.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So
Was TC the founder of Aliens? Just a
he is
second,
the
real quick.
He
founder.
is the founder.
He
Hmm.
is,
Yes.
right?
hmm
Okay.
I think Dollar might be the co-founder. At least that's what they used to say also. Um,
Yeah.
if you recall, they used to say Dollar and TC are the co-founders of Elite, and then Dollar's like a co-founder of Alien. Because I think Alien and Elite started the same exact day. Believe it or not, that's the story. Yeah, they started the same day, like 91, 92, something like that.
hmm
And it was just Elite was formed because they wanted to shut down Gestapo. The nation would go through these periods of time where they would try to really strive to push this positive stuff, and then they'd be like, "Yo, we don't want the G's to be active. We're shutting y'all down." But then the G's would just reactivate they activate elite, and they will all go to a different chapter and operate the same way. Peace to the G's, peace to those that used to represent elite also. These are chapters that are huge,
Mm-hmm.
incredible chapters. So from now young adult, Zulu Nation, hip hop influence, are you rapping at this time? Are you
Nah.
transitioning from singing to rapping or no?
I always wrote rhymes though. I always
Hmm.
wrote rhymes. I remember my cousin Wise. He had like this little cassette player, right? And we used to take the tape. We used to take the tape and put tape over it because it came with a microphone. And we used to like we was like 8 years old, and we were rapping. Like we was
Hmm.
like he would beatbox or I would beatbox, and we was rapping. Cause like I said, we used to watch Video Music Box. Like our aunts be in the crib, like playing all types of stuff, and I just would be like, you write your little first rap. My name is Kyle. I think I'm wild. I got a smile. You know what I'm saying? Like, or whatever, however it go. You know what I'm saying? So we've been writing. I've been writing rhymes for like. Matter of fact, I was at work yesterday and something came in my head, and I was like, let me just jot this down before I lose it, cause like um like my mother being an educator, like I said before, and then my aunts being educators, we always had to read books. In the summertime, I had to write my mother a book report. She used to choose the book, told me not to cheat because she had already read the book. So I had to give her at least one book report in the summer, every summer. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
like, and I appreciate it because it stepped up my vocabulary. I know how to deal with, I know how to use my words instead of profanity. I know how to speak when I have to, so, and it enhanced my writing. So
Hmm.
writing always been easy for me. Like I can never get writer's block. Even when like you think you have a writer's block, like something will hit, like because you store a lot of information from reading so much stuff that, well, me personally, I'm speaking for myself, like I store so many informations from all the stuff that I've read, whether it be the newspaper. We had the encyclopedia in the house. I used to be like, oh, ain't nothing to read. You read that already? Read the encyclopedia. Start with A. And I'm just like, Dad, man, like, stop watching TV. Stop playing that Nintendo. Go read that. Give me a book report. When we used to have to do projects for school, like Black History Month, I couldn't pick the Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. I couldn't pick Shirley Chisholm. I had to pick people that people never heard of. You know what I'm saying? Because
Hmm.
everything else was easy. You know what I'm saying? This is like
Hmm.
it's like the default. Everybody knows Martin Luther King. Oh, he did this, he did that. He died he got assassinated in 1968. James Lee
Hmm.
Ray, Earl, whatever his name was, James Lee Ray, whatever. So I had to do somebody else that wasn't familiar, you know what I'm saying? But it helped because now I know, like when you sit in as you become an adult, like you sit in certain conversations and something will come up, or I could be watching something with my wife. I'll be like, yo, this is such and such and such and such. And she'll be looking at me like, yo, you think you know everything? I'm like, nah, no, I don't. I'm like, yo, I just like
Hmm.
read it so long ago that I retained the information. Like it don't like when I see it, it goes like that. Like I know it now, you know what I'm saying? Because it's right in front of my face. It's not something I think about every day, but when it comes up, since I already read it or researched it, it's just like that. But like we're writing around that time, like I said, I was always rhyming. And even like when I was in the choir, there was dudes that rap. You know what I'm saying? On the side, like besides singing, like my man Michael Bell that I mentioned that passed away a couple years ago, he used to rap. You know what I'm saying? And he played the piano, like he was dope. You know what I'm saying? My man Rand Christian, he kind of like he sings now. He just did a song with Mano not too long ago, and somebody else. Um, but he has like a rap singing kind of style too. You know what I'm saying? So dudes was definitely rapping. And like you said last week with Pierre and GS, like still sharp and still. So when you writing and comparing rhymes, like you gonna get sharper if somebody better than you or whatever. Like you like trading bars, you know what I'm saying? It just like it's easy, you know. But yeah, I definitely was writing when I was singing, definitely, but not recording though, but just storing bars,
Hmm.
walking around with books.
Give us an example of somebody you did a book report on that people may not know. Like one of those.
Well now they know, but back then,
Well, give us an example of
like I remember I did Lewis Howard Latimer, right? Um, he created the filament and the light bulb for Thomas Edison, right? For Thomas Edison. Remember, everybody was giving Thomas Edison the credit.
Mm-hmm.
So back then, like nobody wasn't writing about Lewis Howard Latimer. They did a movie like maybe in the early 2000s about him, I think. But it took
Is the
that long.
Latimer
It took
houses
that
named
long.
after him?
I believe so.
Probably,
Believe so. I believe so.
Out in Flushing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I believe
most
so.
likely.
Right. So I was doing stuff like that. But it's like it escapes me. Because everybody was
Latimer,
doing, like I said, Martin Luther King. People was doing
right,
Hmm. The
Charles
usuals.
Drew. Yeah, like you know what I'm saying, Rosa
Hmm.
Parks, and not to
right,
take anything away from them, but there's other people that
Right,
definitely.
did things like we're not gonna do like George Washington Carver. Everybody knows George Washington Carver.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Latimer's a
So
good one. He was
yeah,
black.
yes he was.
That's insane.
Yes he was.
Insane. That's
You
a
know what I'm
good one.
saying? They took his patent and ran with it, yo. They took his patent and ran with it.
I could have sworn he would have been a Jew with nature. Let's see. But
Well,
they do name buildings after black people though. Now that I think about
hmm
Yeah, no, definitely.
it.
hmm
Yeah.
Even in the Bronx, that Puerto Rican sister, the first judge,
Oh
I think
yeah.
they renamed, one of the public housing in
Oh,
her
what it
name.
is Sotomayor. They got
Yeah, I
word.
think that's the new name of Bronxdale, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
That's
that's crazy.
crazy.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
dope
It's
though.
it's
That's
in that
dope.
it's in that area, right by Rosedale Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
She got
yeah,
a.
I think to me, all public housing should be named after someone, of so-called black or so-called brown. Like, I mean, that's who lives in these buildings.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we have the Walt Whitman houses? Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
He never even. Where he from?
right?
Where is
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he from? Where's Walt
he from
Whitman from?
Huntington.
He's
He
from
from Long
Huntington, right?
Island.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well,
Yeah, he's straight.
they
That's
got
the
the Walt
whole.
Whitman Bridge in Philly.
I went to Walt Whitman High School.
I
You know what I'm
know.
saying?
I
Like,
know. Yeah.
right. He's a legendary. They got all these houses in South Huntington where, him and his family lived, and he wrote all these poems. They're
Mm-hmm.
like New York State, like, they can never knock it down. It's like a landmark.
I studied
It's
him
a
Mm-hmm.
in
landmark.
college.
Right.
He was a great writer. Because I like when I was
Yeah.
in college, I took my major was English literature. You know what I'm saying? So I had to study Whitman at some point.
I'm not gonna
Which
lie, I
No.
was
never
cool.
really knew he was from Huntington until just now. Like it makes perfect
That's
sense that I
crazy.
might have known, but I don't think it really sunk in until just now. But that's
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
That's
Yeah, he
crazy.
lived he lived in all of them like that area by the high school, right down the road from the high school. Like, like the winding blocks it goes from,
Oh yeah,
you know,
behind
like
the
right, it's like some wild old looking
yeah.
houses
Oh
like
yeah, okay.
mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah, just like a typical New York historic crazy historic stuff. Wow, speaking of schools and like I know you to be an intelligent brother, a brother that's,
Try.
um a very smart brother, well-spoken brother. High school,
Hmm.
like what was it like in high school for you? What high schools did you go to? Did you like high school? Did you dislike it? Were you just,
Um.
what was your story as far as high school goes?
Yo, I went to Jamaica High School, right? Um. That's in Jamaica Estates, Queens. Um. Yo, I didn't really go. I'm not even gonna lie. Like I don't. Yo, and it's crazy because like if if I would have went to school, I know I could have did it because I went to the military and decided to go back to college, and I was on the dean's list, the principal's list. I was, I had like a 4.0 GPA, you know what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
as an adult because I was like, and that was me like putting in some effort, you know what I'm saying, like with that, but in high school, I just I was disengaged, you know what I'm saying, like I just didn't my whole life I've been being told to like, yo, just play the game. And I always felt like my life wasn't a game. Like this is my life, it's serious. So like I've had crazy experiences in high school, man. Um like I remember Cameron recently had an interview and he was like he couldn't make it to the train station to go to school, right? Because it was too
Mm-hmm.
so much temptations like being in New York City like to get to school. Me, I had to take two buses, right? Or just take one bus and walk up the hill. So like me, I'm like, yo, I ain't going in here because like it's just I don't know if it was too easy for me because I got this story. Um, my when I first got married to my wife, my mom was telling her this story about me. Like when if you don't show up to a class, like ever, they give you a Z, right? In New York City, they give you a Z. That's never reported, right? So I had a Z, right? So my mom goes to parent and teacher conference. So I already know like what's gonna go down. These people don't know me. And she wanted to know why. And it's kind of embarrassing for her because she works for the New York City Board of Education. And here it is, her son not doing what he's supposed to be. I'm supposed to be a straight A student, according to teachers,
Mm-hmm.
according to my mother, according to
Mm-hmm.
everybody. I'm supposed to be straight A, because I had been that for so long. You know what I'm saying? Always in the gifted program, always scoring in the 98th percentile on these citywide, statewide tests, all of that. It's documented, you know. But she came up there and this teacher was like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "Yo, Kyle Wilson," and my mother looking at me. And so he looks and he was like, "Yeah, I see you on the roster, but I don't." He's like, I don't think I ever met you." So she looking at me, and then hold on, let me see something. So he goes in my file because he had a file for each student. So he said, "Oh," he said, "I remember you." He said, "I gave a test," and this was math. So he was like, "Yo, I gave a test one day," and he was like, "Your son scored 100, and I never saw him again." He was like, "I never saw your son again." Like, and he's like, "Yo, I got a hard time like getting this stuff with kids that are really trying, and your son walked in here, scored 100, and I never saw him again." And then he asked me like, "Yo, what's up with you?" And I just was like, he was like, "You gonna come? Are you gonna come to class?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I never came. Like, I ditched every day. I
Mm.
just, I guess at that time, like me reading, because like I said before, I used to cut school and go to the library, right? And I've read so much stuff. My my family used to make me watch Eyes on the Prize. Back then, it was a show. I think Gil Noble hosted it. It was like old footage of the civil rights movement. Um, it shows actual sit-ins where like blacks are getting like food thrown at them and milk poured on them and everything for not being like for trying to eat in segregated places and all of that. So that had an effect on me. You know what I'm saying? It really did. And I don't think they know that. They're probably gonna know now when they listen. You know what I'm saying? It had an
Mm.
effect on me. So I like at that time, like I wasn't like prejudiced against white people, like because we like you go to school with certain certain ethnicities and nationalities and backgrounds. Like my age, like I wasn't like that, but like with the adults for some reason. I was like that. You know what I mean? I was like, yo, you don't really care if I get an education. And then, some teachers are bold enough to say that I get paid whether you come or not. And I don't think that's
Mm-hmm.
good for the psyche of a developing mind. You know what I'm saying? So, I remember one time I had this dean, Mr. Blumenthal, never forget him. Might be dead now because he was kind of old, but I think he was a retired police officer, right? So we got our report cards, and like I said, I wasn't going, so my joints was like my grades was screwed up, whatever, right? So he's like, "Let me see your report card, Wilson." So I show it to him, and I probably was high on some bud or something, and he looked, and excuse my language, he said, "I knew it." He said, "You ain't shit." Like he whispered to me, he was like, "You ain't shit." He's like, "And you ain't never gonna amount to shit." And I looked at him and I smiled and I just walked away. I ain't even say nothing. I ain't tell my mother. I ain't tell nobody.
Mm.
So fast forward years later, my mom signed me out of school because I couldn't go to. I ain't have no credits to like excel, like go to the next grade or whatever. So my mom had to sign me out. So I ended up getting my GED in like 6 months, something like that. Got it real quick when I was 17. Then I went to the military. So when I got out of boot camp, I had
But hold
now
on,
I don't want to jump
we're
ahead,
gonna
right?
get to that.
Right,
Yeah, let's
right,
hold on.
right,
We're gonna
right,
get to that in part two.
right.
I want to end this one when you're finished
All right.
done about school.
Oh yeah, but I just I don't know if I was afraid to succeed because I'm really a nerd for real. You know what I'm saying? Like I consider myself a
That's
nerd.
good.
Like the definition of whatever they would consider a nerd. I like to
A
read.
nerd is
I
cool.
like right. I like to do stuff like I'm a nerd. You know what I'm saying? Certain stuff I watch, is certain stuff even the stuff I listen to other than hip hop. You know what I'm saying? I would be considered a nerd. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like so I
Yeah.
think like, when you're trying to not get acceptance or fit in. It's just like, um,
What you mean?
yeah, right. So I'm just like, and like I said, I'm like all of this stuff. I got all this literature in my house about like the plight of blacks. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm watching this stuff, so it angered me. So I'm like, yo, nah, man. I'm like, yo, I ain't gonna go in here in this institution. And then you learning, like you being Zulu, and then you learning about institutions, and you learning about all this covert secret stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So it turned me off. I'm not even gonna lie, it turned me off, and I'm just like, yo, I don't even need this. And we
Hmm.
thinking like, yo, how I'm gonna use like you know,
Hmm.
the Pythagorean theorem in real life. How am I going to apply that to real life? You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
How am I going to apply PEMDAS? Please excuse my
Right.
dear Aunt Sally
Hmm.
in real
Hmm.
life. Like, what is like
Right.
we need to learn life skills. Like, why do we didn't have home ec? You know what I'm saying? Why we didn't have business finance, accounting,
Mhm.
like stuff that we're gonna like,
Grant
stuff
writing,
like that. Right, stuff like that. They like, like they don't even teach penmanship no more. They don't know how to write in
budgets,
cursive. Right, credit
how to
repair,
maintain credit.
anything. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So like, and
Things that
some
we
schools
use.
do it.
It's
Right,
not useful.
right,
Some of this information they're giving us is not useful
right. And
to
then
us.
even with the history,
Hmm.
they lying about it. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? It's his
right.
story. It's not what really
And
happened.
it's like European based too.
Right,
Like
right.
it's
I
not
don't want to
given.
learn about like I want to learn about everything. You know what I'm
Right, let's
saying?
talk
Not
about
just
the indigenous
European.
culture. Let's
Right,
talk about
right.
like everybody's contributions to society, not just the European
I
side, you
said
know
that
what I
in
mean?
class before. I remember like something about Columbus, and I'm glad they changed it. But I see on my phone it has Columbus Day, and then on the bottom it
Hmm.
has Indigenous People Day. And I remember I'm like, yo, so when you gonna tell us? I remember they said something about Columbus Day in school, and I was like, yo, like, so when you gonna tell us he never got off the ship? When you gonna tell us he was really a pirate and caught syphilis and
Hmm.
died because he was raping? Like, when you gonna tell us
Hmm.
that? When you gonna
Right,
tell us that?
right,
And they was
right,
looking at me like, where, like, not even where'd you get that information from? How do
right.
you know? How do you know it? Right? And why are you
Hmm.
so bold in saying it? You know what I'm saying? With the conviction that you're saying it. And that's how they was looking at me. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
You know what I think they need to do with Columbus Day? It's an Italian thing. The Italians want that day bad.
Give it to
Just
them.
make it Italian Heritage Day.
Yeah,
Just make it Italian Heritage Day. Let them take the parade, and that way we could get this killer, this rapist,
right,
you know what I'm saying? Get his story out of there and just focus on the beauty of your culture,
right,
of the Italian
right,
culture.
right,
It's their parade already, it's all their flags. They
right,
got that thing wrapped up. So just give it to them and then leave Columbus out of it. This is my personal thing,
right, right,
and
right,
then
right.
everybody else could go about Indigenous Day and we could just keep pushing that forward as well. You
I
know what I
Wow.
think
mean? But
the Colombo family is the ones that were big behind the celebration of Christopher Columbus and the parade and all of that. I'm
mhm.
pretty sure it's like mafia.
It's like mafia controlled.
Yeah, and I think it's I don't know if it still is, but I know Joe Colombo was big on the parade, and
Right.
they have like a I want to say like an Italian league or something or
Hmm.
anti-defamation, whatever. But those are things that were started. The whole parade celebration, basically, the holiday comes from Joe Colombo.
Right, right, right. And I think he was shot at one of them, if I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
mistaken.
He definitely was.
You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, we're gonna end this episode, part one to Watt, and we're gonna
This is
resume
dope.
with part two. We're gonna get into a little bit
It's
more of
crazy.
his, what took place after high school. So keep it tuned to Spears and Mike's. We're gonna get back with our guest, Watt Slice.
Peace,
Peace.
peace.
Peace.